Good afternoon, everyone, and today we will continue our grammar and mechanics unit, and we will do adverbs and problems with adverbs. Our word of the day is sporadic, and it describes something that occurs occasionally, irregularly, or randomly across time or space. And we have two example sentences here. Sporadic cases of the disease were reported, and sporadic loud noises kept startling everyone. So the word sporadic comes from the medieval Latin sporadicus, which is itself derived from the Greek sporadin, meaning here and there. It is also related to the Greek verb sperin, to sow, the ancestor from which we get our word spore, the reproductive cell of a fungus, microorganism, or some plants, hinting at the seemingly scattered nature by which such cells spread and germinate, right? So we can continue on. So what are adverbs? Adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. They can sometimes be confused with adjectives since adverbs can also be used to compare items. So adverbs can also modify whole clauses. So here are some examples of adverbs in sentences. So we have I rarely go, and it modifies the verb go. I am very tired, and very modifies the word tired, which is an adjective. I walk rather slowly, modifies the adverb slowly. And unfortunately, in the last sentence, modifies the whole sentence. So unfortunately, the money was not paid. So adverbs often end in ly, but they are not limited to this ending, as we can see here in these few examples. So we have very and rather, which do not have the ly ending. All right, so types of adverbs. There are three main groups or types, and we have simple adverbs, which indicate time, place, manner, degree, or extent, number, certainty or uncertainty, and reason or consequence. Our next type is interrogative adverbs, and they are used to ask questions. Conjunctive adverbs, are adverbs used as conjunctions. And then in our next slide, we can see different examples of such types. So we have under simple, the different categories. So for time, now, soon, yesterday, place, here, inside, below, manner, quickly, badly, well, degree/extent, very, quite, to, number, once, firstly, again, certainty/uncertainty, certainly, perhaps not, reason/consequence, therefore, so, consequently. For interrogative, we have how, when, where, why, whence. And then under conjunctive, we have accordingly, also, hence, still, then, thus, etc., etc. And conjunctive adverbs are any adverb that can be used as a conjunction. And we know that conjunctions are words that are used to connect clauses or sentences or to coordinate words in the same clause. So any adverb that can act as a conjunction is a conjunctive adverb. So we move on to position of adverbs. So adverbs can be placed at the very beginning or end of a sentence or before the verb they modify, but they should not be placed between the verb and its direct object. The position of an adverb is very important as it can change the meaning of a sentence. So let's look at our examples. So we have foolishly, I spoke to her. So here, the adverb is at the start of the sentence. And from its position, we can tell that the person who did the action, I spoke to her, they did so foolishly. So it was an unwise decision, right? That is what we can infer from this sentence. So for the next sentence, we have, I spoke foolishly to her. So because of this position, it comes after the verb, it modifies, we can say that the person spoke nothing of substance to the other person, right? So they spoke foolishly. So in the first sentence, we have, it was an unwise decision to speak to the person. Then in the second sentence, we have just speaking foolishness, basically, right? In our next example, we have, I only sleep in class. So for this, we can tell that this person does nothing but sleep in class. So they don't do work, they don't pay attention, they don't even talk to their friends, they only sleep in class. So that's the only thing they come to class to do. And our last example, I sleep only in class, means that class is the only place that they sleep, right? Not sure what kind of person that is. But let us continue. So punctuation and conjunctive adverbs. And as I said before, any adverb that can act as a conjunction, meaning that they join two sentences or clauses, they are classified as conjunctive adverbs. So when used to connect independent clauses, the conjunctive adverb is preceded by a semicolon. Example, we doubted their word, semicolon. Nevertheless, we went along with the plan. Second example, something about the garden pleased us. However, we did not wish to purchase the house. So from maybe your previous classes, you would have known that independent clauses, they can stand by their own as a sensible sentence. So we doubted their word. That is one independent clause. We went along with their plan, another independent clause. And nevertheless, joins these two sentences and connects them. Same thing with the second example with something about the garden pleased us, independent clause. We did not wish to purchase the house, independent clause. And then, however, joins these sentences, as well as the semicolon. So when a conjunctive adverb is used parenthetically, it is set off by commas. Parenthetically meaning that it can be placed in parentheses, right, or brackets. You can see, comma, moreover, comma, why this is important. So keep in mind your punctuation as you use these adverbs. And with that, we go on to problems with adverbs. Misplacing adverbs. So ensure that your adverbs are placed correctly in your sentences. And before we did talk about position and how we can change the entire meaning of your sentence. So depending on the context, depending on what you want your sentence to say, the position of your adverb can alter it in a different way. Another example, this racket needs mending badly becomes this racket badly needs mending. And of course, in our informal speaking, the first sentence would seem like it is correct. Unfortunately, it is not so. And so, this racket badly needs mending would be the correct sentence. Next example, I can only lend you $10 becomes I can lend you only $10. So from these two sets of examples, you can see how changing the position again of the adverbs can change the meaning of the sentence. So keep that in mind. Using double negatives. We touched on double negatives in our adjective class, and the same rule is used when we write adverbs. So remember the rule of double negative. If there are two negatives in the sentence, the negative cancels out. I have no paper nor ink becomes I have no paper or ink. I should not wonder if it did not rain becomes I should not wonder if it rained. I never go nowhere becomes I never go anywhere. So if there's one negative in the sentence, there's no need for you to add another negative unless you want it to be a positive sentence, right? And overall, it is just grammatically incorrect. So revise your sentences, make sure that you rewrite, restructure, even take out adverbs if they do not need to be there to prevent using double negatives. So I move on to confusion of adverbs with adjectives. He will do it quicker than I can. So in this sentence, we know that quicker is the comparative of the adjective quick. The adverb is quickly, so the sentence should be rewritten as he will do it more quickly than I can. So of course, adjectives, well, not adjectives, adverbs, they also have comparative and superlative forms because as said before, they can also be used in comparison. So more quickly, most quickly. Some adverbs, they have superlative and comparative forms. And then some adverbs and adjectives are similar, meaning that the word can be used as either an adjective or an adverb. So we have I run fast, adverb, versus that is a fast train, adjective. I got up early, adverb, versus the early bird catches the worm. It should be worm right here, right? But there in the second sentence, it would be an adjective. Misuse of than after hardly or scarcely. Hardly had we got ashore than the boat sank. Than is used in comparison. To correct this sentence, you would write, hardly had we got ashore when the boat sank. When is the conjunctive adverb of time. So keep this in mind. Next, we have hard versus hardly. So hard can be used as an adjective and an adverb. The bed is hard, adjective, and I worked hard, adverb. Hardly is just an adverb. It means almost not or barely. I hardly had time to finish the project. She hardly works. So ensure that you don't mix up these two words. There might be other instances of this problem as well, but hard versus hardly is sometimes a tricky one in writing. Telling instead of showing. This problem occurs mostly in narrative writing. It is common in dialogue writing. I've had enough, Sarah said loudly, telling. I've had enough, Sarah shouted, telling still. Sarah slammed her fist on the table. I bloody well had enough, she screamed, showing. Right. So when you're writing narrative, many people will have a problem with using said and adverb or just using plain verbs like just shouted, and they will encourage you to show what the character is feeling instead of just writing it down and or telling what the character is feeling or doing or saying, etc., etc. Telling is not bad. You will see as you write your narrative that you will need equal measures telling as well as showing. And so it's all about balance. But yes. You don't want to have too much adverbs in your writing when you're doing narrative. So we move on to redundancy. Adverbs are sometimes used in sentences when they didn't add anything meaningful to the sentence, or when they don't add, anything meaningful to the sentence, or when they modify a word that doesn't need modification. So she shouted loudly into the phone. Shouting means that you're automatically doing it loudly. You don't have to add loudly onto or into this sentence. You shout, it's loud. That's just how it is. A slow and leisurely walk. Leisurely and slow, they can go hand in hand. So it's either one or the other in this sentence. And then we have modification of certain words that doesn't need modification. So we have completely bankrupt. You cannot be partially bankrupt. You're just bankrupt. Very unique. Unique stands alone by itself. If you remember in our adjective lesson, we said that unique is an absolute. Very perfect, same thing. It is an absolute. Something cannot be very perfect, neither can it be very unique. Because once you're unique, you're one of a kind. Once you're perfect, you're just perfect. So you can't be half perfect, less perfect. I mean, yeah, you can be, well, you can't be less perfect, yeah. It's just an absolute. The thing is with this rule is that in certain types of writing, example poetry, and even narrative again, you might want to use redundancy to give a specific whimsical feel. So a slow and leisurely walk is something that you would most likely find in a poem. Yeah, sometimes in a story as well, depending on the mood or the atmosphere the writer wants to set. And if you want to set that mood as well, you can use the adverb. But again, in academic writing, you're writing an essay, whatever, you don't want to be redundant. You don't want to misplace your adverbs, etc., etc. We move on to verbosity. So lengthy sentences containing adverbs can be revised and replaced with shorter sentences, especially when adverbs are replaced with stronger verbs. We crept stealthily through the meadow and spoke as quietly as possible. Can we revise and cut down this sentence? Yes, we can. We whispered as we snuck through the meadow. Concise, straight to the point, still has the same, it has the intended mood, I should say. And yeah, it doesn't take as much space. So you might be tempted to use adverb because you want people to say, oh, you're a good writer, or you're strong in writing, or your writing is evokes certain emotions in people, but try not to overuse adverbs, please. And if you can replace the adverb with a stronger noun, we have whispered for spoke quietly. We have snuck for crept stealthily. Use the verbs if verbs can replace the adverbs, I should say. And then we have contradiction. This occurs when the adverbs are used to modify words in a nonsensical way. They usually cancel out the word they modify. She literally jumped 1,000 yards. The dog slobbered neatly onto the pillow. He was totally half paying attention. It is best to rewrite these sentences unless the contradiction is intentional. So again, if you're writing dialogue and the people are just talking, like for example, she literally jumped 1,000 yards, and that is just how your character speaks, leave it be. I mean, what more can I say? But if it's just general narration, unless, the character is narrating in a certain voice or diction, whatever it is. If you want to follow the rules, try not to put contradictions in your sentence. So how would you rewrite these sentences? So the first one, it seemed like she jumped 1,000 yards. Second one, the dog slobbered onto the pillow. Or the dog drooled a little onto the pillow. For the last sentence, we have he spaced out completely for a minute. So again, keep in mind these problems, adverbs, so that you can make the right choices as you write. So here we have a little activity. It says, identify the adverbs in the following sentences. So for one, we have, I often visit my parents. 2, it is extremely hot today. 3, we will leave today. 4, I went to the market in the morning. 5, they serve hot pancakes there. So you can pause the video and try for yourself first. And then you can unpause the video and continue on to the answers. Right. So our answers would be, I often visit my parents. The adverb is often. It modifies visit. It is extremely hot today. Extremely is adverb. It modifies hot. 3, we will leave today. Today modifies leave. 4, I went to the market in the morning. You can have the clause or just morning as your adverb, but it modifies went to the market. When did you go to the market? In the morning. 3, they serve hot pancakes there. So there is the adjective. It's telling where they will serve the pancakes, right? So as you can tell from this little activity, adverbs can be clauses, they can be phrases, and they can also modify clauses or an entire sentence. And I think we did touch on that before. And so we move on to activity 2. Explain the differences in meaning in the following sentences. So again, you can pause the video and try and unpause it so that you can get answers, right? So let's go ahead. My only pencil is lost. Only my pencil is lost. So in the first sentence, it says, or it means, I should say, the only pencil is lost. So that means the person only had one pencil and it is lost. Next, only my pencil is lost. So the pencil is the only thing that is lost. So their pen isn't lost, their book isn't lost, nothing else is lost. It's only the pencil, right? Number 2, happily, I found him alive. I found him living happily in London. Happily, I found him alive means the person who found the person alive, they were happy to find out that the person, he was alive. Second sentence, I found him living happily in London. This time, the object of the sentence, him living happily, he's living a happy life in London, right? So it no longer has anything to do with the person, but he's the one living happily. Number 3, the burglar was hard-pressed by his pursuers. / he pressed hard on the lever. The burglar was hard-pressed means that he was being heavily pursued. They were catching up to him. They were close. Yeah. Next sentence, he pressed hard on the lever. It's just as it said. He pressed hard on the lever. That's just it. Number 4, once I went to the cinema every week / I went to the cinema once every week. First sentence, There was a time in the person's life that they went to the cinema every week. Second sentence, I went to the cinema once every week. So this person was going to the cinema once every week. Easy peasy. And with that being said, that is the end of our adverb session. And so we can start our lesson on conjunctions. Right. So let me start it from the beginning. And we share. All right. So what are conjunctions? Conjunctions are words used to, Conjunctions are words used to join words, phrases, or sentences. Right. So what are the types of conjunctions? There are three types of conjunctions. We have coordinating conjunctions, which join elements of equal weight or function, meaning that if they're joining one independent clause, the next thing that they're joining the independent clause to has to be another independent clause. If it is a subordinate clause, they have to join to another subordinate clause. So this is a function of coordinating conjunctions. Correlative conjunctions join elements of equal weight and come in pairs. So they're just like coordinating conjunctions, but they come in pairs. So they don't stand alone. And lastly, subordinating conjunctions join a dependent clause to a main clause or independent clause. And so here we go into each type of conjunction. There are four main functions of coordinating conjunctions. So they add, an example, and or both. Example of that in a sentence, he is intelligent and energetic. So it adds. Next, we have alternative, meaning that these coordinating conjunctions give a choice. Example of this, otherwise, or either, nor, neither. He is either a scoundrel or a fool. Next, we have contrasting, meaning that they set one idea against another. Examples, but yet nevertheless. He is poor, but he is honest. And last, we have proving. So they give reasons or consequences. Example, therefore, then, for. So, it is late, therefore, we must go. We move on to correlative conjunctions. As said before, they come in pairs. So they include both and, either or, neither nor, not only, but also. These words must always precede words that are the same part of speech. So neither the police nor the doctor believes him. The police, the doctor, both are nouns. He is either lazy or stupid. Lazy, adjective. Stupid, adjective. Next, we move on to subordinating conjunctions. So there are three types of subordinating conjunctions. We have type 1, those that introduce clauses doing the work of an adverb, as, when, for, after, where, etc., etc. We have some examples. I shall go before he arrives. I will write if I can. Look where you are going. Right. Type 2, those that introduce clauses doing the work of a noun. conjunctive adverbs like how, why, when, why, and where. Oh, I have why 2 times, my bad. So I wonder how he did this. Why he did this is inexplicable. And lastly, type 3, those that introduce clauses doing the work of an adjective. When, where, as. This is the house where I live. That is the day when we arrive. So these are all the types of subordinating conjunctions. And as you can see, most conjunctions are subordinating conjunctions. So here we have a few examples. We have some words. Although, as, because, once, since, that, etc., etc. Phrases, as if, as soon as though, even after, even if, even though. And we have some conjunctive adverbs. Accordingly, also, anyway, as a result, besides, certainly, consequently, finally, furthermore, etc., etc. So again, just as a refresher, conjunctive adverbs, they are adverbs that can join a word, phrase, word, phrase, or sentence, right? So keep that in mind, right? So that is all for today. Next class, we will continue with problems with conjunctions. We will do prepositions, and our last parts of speech lesson, I should say, will be verbs. I left it for last because it is the most compact one. As you know, we use verbs in everyday life. And so I will see you next week, Tuesday, for our problems with conjunctions and prepositions lesson. And this Thursday, not Wednesday, this Thursday, we will continue on our essay writing introduction. So I will see you then. Have a good day. And if you have any issues, feel free to contact me. Join the Google Classroom if you need materials or resources or practice questions, etc., etc. Let me know. Thank you again. Have a good day.